So.
Right.
All right.
Fun. All right, here we are.
Another week, another
What is this, number
wonderful day. This
5,
is
6?
number 7. I just got done editing number 6.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on the path. Last week we did some questions that I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Kind of not off the path, but on the path regarding our topic of consciousness. And
yes.
I think 3 questions kind of took the whole time. It was like an hour and 40 minutes.
That was insane how long that went.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So
okay.
This is a little bit of a different. We're gonna go off on another. I wouldn't say tangent, but different approach to this week's session or podcast.
Yep.
And what were we thinking? I'll let you explain.
So I was thinking that we would do a live coaching session with you on a topic of your choice.
Mm-hmm. So
because I'm kind of curious to see what that looks like and how long it would take if I ever wanted to do that as part of a podcast.
Yeah. So we're experimenting. This is some of the work that Amy does, and I'm going to kind of act as an experiment here, and we're going to go through a mock coaching session.
Exactly.
And what just checking make sure everything's good.
Okay.
So what I'll let you explain what these coaching sessions kind of point towards and what the aim of them are. And,
okay.
Yeah.
So coaching is very different than therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So coaching, the whole idea, there's a few different pieces. One is that you, the coachee, the client, are your own best expert.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm doing is I'm helping you tap into that part of yourself. So usually there's a goal that you're wanting to achieve or some sort of change you want to make in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Change and goal, I guess, would be the same. And so my job is to help you get clear about what that goal is by asking you a series of questions.
Sure.
And then once you determine what your goal is, then we create a strategy as to how you can achieve that. And then it's sort of are you willing to take that first step within the next week? So if you were my coaching client, I would have you meet with me every week. And typically most coaches have a 3-month process. They can be 6 months, 9 months, and I also coach month to month.
Yep.
So I think the best results I have found are at least a 3-month process where you're meeting with that person weekly. And so each week you would be tasked with homework. So that would be a step that you could achieve without a tremendous amount of effort.
Yeah.
Something that's doable, because coaching is based on small steps towards your goal.
Okay.
Right? And so so part of my role is helping you clarify, but also holding you accountable. So in the week interim, you would have the opportunity to text me and ask me questions, or I can help you if you're getting stuck. And then the next session, if you got really stuck, we could even talk about, what do you think might have been in the way that week?
What's hindering this?
Right.
So
because a lot of times we'll set goals, we'll start towards it, and then it'll feel too difficult, or maybe it's not quite what we thought we wanted. And so there's the opportunity to change direction and find out if there's something, especially if there's a pattern that gets in the client's way of achieving something. Let's say they are really fearful, and so that fear they come up against at a certain point. So it's really kind of a neat process to help assist somebody in getting from where they are today to where they want to be.
Sure.
So unlike therapy, which often will look back into the past, that may be appropriate at times if there's a pattern that, that's recognized that maybe you or the client comes up against, then it's relevant.
Yep.
But mostly it's focusing on today and where you want to be and how to get there.
Yeah, so it's kind of, you would possibly say it's a little bit more goal-oriented.
Very much so.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, would you call this life coaching or more like goal coaching?
Life coaching.
Okay.
So, I mean, and so it's an interesting thing. I need to sort of ideally choose a niche, right? So, and yet I resist that because I see that I have experienced business coaching. So I've had a bunch of clients that want to start a business based on a passion, but I've also done a lot of health-related coaching. I've done a lot of relationship, and somebody wants to move to another country and get a new job and settle down. And so I feel like I've had clients all over the spectrum of coaching, and sort of my perspective is if you're trained as a good coach, and I've been trained as both a health and a life and a spiritual coach, that you can coach anything.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to figure out, should I have a niche? Like, should I be a green living coach? Should I be a self-awareness coach? Should I be something?
Yeah, I can
like
see
that.
where that would be hard to kind of box yourself into.
Yeah, especially with my personality, it's just much like yours.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we're like doing a variety of different things.
I think this experiment's going to be funny too, because I've learned that what I most enjoy is the substance of maybe going after goals, and then maybe the goals don't actually come to fruition, but it's actually the process of doing them is or getting to point A to point B has been the most fruitful part of the process, because like you said, sometimes what you want is not what you thought you want, and it changes and all sorts of stuff. So I think it would be kind of a cool experiment to do this. So
Sweet.
Where would we start?
So I would ask you, what would you like to be coached on today?
This is the first step. Let's see. Well, I have this goal of being self-employed if I move up here to Vermont. I made the first steps of bringing some inventory of my wood products over there, which is bowls, and I call them vestals. So eventually, if I want to move up here, it'd be nice to have my own schedule. So
Sweet. So you're considering moving up to Vermont full-time as opposed to just renting for the summer?
That would be the situation if things work out with this business. And,
right. So in order to do that, you're saying that you want to be able to be self-employed as opposed to working for somebody else.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And so one of the skills that you have is this beautiful bowl creation.
Wood turning. Yep.
Turning. And you already have inventory that you just created some new stuff while you were in Rhode Island.
Yep.
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 And so, okay, so I guess the first question, first of all, do I have your permission to coach you?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
The first question I have is, what would it look like ideally if you were to move up here full time and you were self-employed? Do you have a sense of what that would look like as far as how much income do you need to generate each month? And would it all come from bowls, or would there be other things that you might offer?
Yeah, there would definitely be other things that I offer, because I'm kind of in line with what you're doing. Is what I can do is kind of broad and ranged and whatever, from photography to videography to bowl turning to eventually sometime. What I'd like to do eventually is make income digitally, like on YouTube.
Oh.
So the bowls are kind of like a catalyst.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily see myself as a wood turner forever.
Gotcha.
What I would like it to do is have like supplement income, but also be a means of starting a conversation or storytelling by recording the process, and then people get to see the process, and then they have a bowl to kind of like, oh, this is what this guy makes, kind of a thing. And then when that gains traction, I'd like to transform the whole thing into multimedia and digital education and stuff. So
wow. So would you start off doing videos of the bowl turning? Or?
Yeah, because as you know, it's hard to listen to somebody kind of like go off on tangents about philosophy and everything.
Exactly.
It's good to pick it out of a story.
Right.
Yeah, so if the bowl turning and the development of the business and the talking to other people can become the story, and then you can kind of throw in some experiential points, side points, philosophy here and there, or points of views. That's a
okay. So it sounds like you're saying you'd like to have sort of a YouTube show on bowl turning.
Channel.
A YouTube channel.
Yeah, necessarily on bowl turning, but bowl turning is
To
definitely
start with.
to start with. Yeah.
So that would be sort of the launch.
Yep,
of
the
it.
launching kind of.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, do you have a desire to get sponsors? Is that something that would be a source of revenue?
Yeah, sponsors or.
I mean, obviously, people purchasing your bowls, but if it turns into, if it evolves into something beyond bowl turning.
Yep, which could be, YouTube. If you become, if you grow an audience, you can have income from AdSense and all sorts of things.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So you'd be kind of one of the YouTube personalities, shall we say.
Perhaps.
Okay.
Yep.
So let me just back up for a step. So do you want to move to Vermont? Is that, like, let's say the income was here. Would that be your first choice for where you would want to live, or is there another place?
That's the tricky part. It's
Okay.
the ultimate goal of being able to have the ability to do this stuff on camera and kind of be remote about it is to be kind of mobile.
Okay, so for now it's Vermont, but you might want to take the road take the show on the road.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Live other places or travel be able to do this.
Kind of touch base here and there. And
okay, so would you consider this as your first step, or would this be home base where you would then go wherever you wanted to after you, like?
This would probably be a first step, especially if the market is conducive to, what I have to offer, and if it kind of lines up that way. So this is very much like the first step as like an experiment, like testing the waters. Yeah.
And so, would you want to remain a renter, or are you thinking of purchasing a property?
For now, renting. Definitely.
Renting. Okay. Yep. And can you stay here or no?
That's yet to be determined.
Okay, so that might be a possibility.
Another road.
Right, so it's another piece.
Yeah, another piece. Pieces
where
everywhere.
you might live.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So, as I understand it, living in Vermont would be a first step, but the bigger goal is to create this remote business.
Yep.
As a YouTube channel, beginning with your bowl turning. So you would actually have video of yourself doing the bowl turning.
Yep.
Right, and then you would sell the bowls and what did you call the big platters?
Like sculpted vessels.
Sculpted vessels. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that would be one source of an income. Do you have a sense of how much you would need to generate from that line of work? To live here.
To live here, to kind of expand on some equipment that I need to, add to the YouTube video situation, and then podcasting eventually. I'd say probably like anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, do you see that money coming entirely from the bowls?
Probably not at this moment, unless people really respond to them up here.
Right. So if you let's say you did get that amount of income from the bowls, how many bowls do you think you'd have to sell in a month?
In a month, probably the decent sized ones. Let's say 4 times, probably 16 to 20 good sized ones.
Okay.
Yep.
And is that doable as far as the production of them?
Yep.
So you could continue to make 16 of these each month, no problem. It wouldn't.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an issue. No.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right, so that's a possibility of all of your income generation could be from that possibly.
Yep. For now.
But a first step, if let's say you're going to rent this space for the whole season. Let's say that your friend says that's totally cool.
Yeah.
And you're just getting started promoting. I know that you've already started to promote the bowls up here, which is awesome. Is there anything else you can see yourself doing for some income up here to supplement that as you get this first part started?
Sure, yeah. Either photography, like next week I have to actually travel back to Rhode Island to do a wedding.
Oh.
I have to shoot a wedding as a second shooter for somebody.
Cool. And that's a paid gig?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that, from videography to, I can help people clean up debris, meaning like landscape stuff, run a chainsaw, cut wood. I climb trees sometime and do arborist work. So I don't necessarily want to get into like owning my own outside landscaping business.
Right, but you have done that before.
Oh yeah, I have run businesses.
So thinking about the weather change, we're beginning of September. Once things get cold here, what do you think would make the most sense for you that you would actually enjoy doing of any of those types of work?
Probably be inside the shop, turning as much as I can, and then photography and the video work when it comes up.
Okay. And so what kind of jobs can you imagine for photography and videography kind of through the fall and winter and spring?
More weddings. Sometimes I get jobs for destination, like excursions, like hunting things.
Oh, wow.
That's not likely this year because I haven't heard from my contact for that yet.
Okay.
But so that one, I wouldn't put that down as kind of like a thing to happen, but probably the turning more so as I said, because it's inside.
Right.
But I have not dismissed the idea of like working for somebody else kind of part-time, which I'm actually doing right now.
Right. So
up here in Vermont.
Would you consider keeping that going for a little while just to get your bowls off the ground?
Yeah.
I mean, would that be easier than trying to do some of these other landscape type jobs?
It would. Yeah, and it also depends on like how like ferocious I want to go with like the situation, meaning like do I go another year and kind of work part-time for people and then do this and then kind of build it up slowly, and that might even involve having to go back to Rhode Island and like work with people that I know and kind of skip back and forth, and then have like a sum of money that I can kind of just like say, okay, I have this, now I'm going to go for it, and then completely focus on like the video work.
Okay.
So it's kind of kind of always in flux.
Okay, so do you have any savings put aside at this point?
Savings I don't really want to touch.
Okay, so you have kind of a
buffer. I guess. Yep.
So if you were able to continue doing what you're doing at the restaurant, do you have the ability to decide what hours you want to work, or do they kind of assign it to you?
I have the ability now, especially because we just changed to takeout.
Okay.
So there's more people that want to work than there are positions.
Oh, okay.
So as I approach this point in time where, you know, my situation with the living, the rent and stuff is kind of, you know, vague at this point, not knowing where I'm going.
Right.
That's kind of getting a little bit, I'm taking less time or going to work there less, I should say.
I see. Less hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fumbling with my speech.
No worries.
So less hours there, finding more work other places, and that's kind of merging into like self-employment. Yeah.
Oh, so you're currently doing other...
Yeah, like next week I have to go and do
jobs.
the weddings. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, so
okay.
I'm taking time off there to go do that.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And so I would totally imagine that the weddings are going to pay much better than the wages at the restaurant.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have flexibility around that. That can be sort of your backup. They can use you when you're available type of thing.
Yep.
Okay, that's perfect. And then, so you think that there are still more wedding jobs and videography opportunities even into the winter, like people that you're connected?
Yeah, the fall, and then maybe November-ish, and then all of a sudden, you know, that kind of stops. Drops off a little bit, and then I have a friend back at home who's an arborist that could use me full-time if I wanted to. The options to work for other people are like almost, I shouldn't say limitless, but
you have plenty of...
I have plenty of opportunities. It's more so going for the show on my
so that's the interesting piece. So let's look at what the show piece looks like. So we kind of know that you have the ability to earn income, whether it's working for somebody else or your own wood bowls or a combination of that.
Yep.
So we'll tuck that over here for a second. So let's look at what's the goal with the show for you.
Expression, I think, is mostly the kind of goal behind, you know, the surface need for, you know, financial security and, you know, having an audience that you can connect with. It's kind of like there's something within you that kind of wants to come out, and how it's going to come out kind of a thing is not yet concrete.
So there's something within you. Yeah,
like some form of knowledge or experience that I want to share with people and build a life that I see fit to kind of who I am and how I see things kind of thing.
So the first step for that, as I understand you, is through the bowl turning experience, and that could then lead to some offshoots in things that you share.
Oh, totally. Right? Like anything in life, the whole basis of the show and the program and the YouTube vlogging or whatever is kind of like what we talk about on a weekly basis, which is this thing happens, or this experience of ourselves happens every day. So it would be kind of cool to capture those insights as they happen, whether it's through like vlog or podcast, and somehow monetize it so that the production value can become more and more sufficient and fulfilling, and you can add more quality and value to the audience, and so it kind of builds on itself type of thing. Okay. So
So all right. So what do you need, if anything, to be able to produce these videos, starting with the wood turning, which I assume there'll be moments when you're turning that something will come to you that you might share, right? So what do you need more equipment for that to happen?
As far as making basic videos of a certain quality, I really don't have any excuse not to be able to.
So you can do that right now?
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't need another person to help you with it?
That's one thing that I would love to have at some point, was be able to hire somebody to be with me kind of like all the time, because sometimes the functionality of like setting up cameras and angles and being in that artistic kind of mindset totally like gets me cut off from like what I want to say. So it's like I have this thing I want to express. I'm like, ugh, and then
all the technical stuff.
Yeah, and then it helps like somebody asking questions, somebody that's maybe interested in the topic of consciousness, who's also a videographer.
Right.
Would make a huge contribution to the situation, because they're asking questions in the same way that you are.
Yep.
And they're creating this kind of relationship, you could say, instead of just me going off on whatever it is. Kind of.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a critical piece, finding that person. Yes. Do you have a sense of what kind of person or where you might find them?
I think when the time is right and the right person kind of pops up, and obviously the financial, structure.
Have the wherewithal to be able to pay them.
Yeah, to pay them a good wage.
Yep.
I would know.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm sure you would know the person, but I'm just wondering, have you kind of visualized, is this a person that is maybe a student? I mean, how much time are you imagining devoting to this?
I mean, it's like a gradual thing, maybe part-time first, and then...
Right, so like how many hours a week do you think to start?
20.
20,
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the reason I'm asking that is partly to know whether it's possible that some student that's in school for this type of work might be a possibility.
Yes.
Like it would be sort of a paid internship even.
It could be, yeah.
Maybe.
Yep.
Okay. So that might be one possible thing. But before you can even get to that place, it sounds like you need to kind of get the financially part of it.
Structure, foundation, you could say, kind of prepared, or at least rolling, you could say. The momentum.
So do you think that if you just worked at the restaurant, do you think you can generate enough to pay a rent?
Yes.
Okay. And would you have enough for living expenses beyond rent?
Yep, it would be kind of, not anything extra, but...
Right, but you could basically cover your living expenses.
Yep.
Okay, so that's really cool, because what that does is it frees you up to say you could just do what you're doing and then get those photography and videography jobs when they come, which gives you better income.
Yep.
So you don't even really need to worry about, at least until November, anything else, right? So that gets the money part of it sort of set up.
Yep.
And then the possibility of the extra income from the selling of these beautiful pieces,
the bowls,
can then supplement you. And so I assume that you can work at the restaurant all year round, right?
If I wanted to,
if you wanted to. So that therefore you wouldn't have to necessarily leave the state to work with friends in outdoor.
No, as long as I have a place to stay, and the place that I would stay would have to be kind of set up for camera work and like this podcast situation. It wouldn't be ideal if I was living with like four other people. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like the first step, and tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe, actually, why don't I ask you, what do you feel like the first step is to making this whole situation happen?
I think kind of in line with what I'm doing right now, which you kind of walked in with, which is I took action to get the inventory up here.
Yep.
Made a video that's in process right now.
Yep.
Posting the video and then kind of seeing how much interest spawns just from that, and then word of mouth, and because as you know, having like commercial space to show things and even work out of is quite expensive.
Right.
So the nice thing about having word of mouth and actually being able to advertise online is that online is your gallery kind of thing.
Exactly.
At least the thing that grabs people's attention.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing that occurs to me is as we come into the holiday season, people are going to want to be buying gifts for people.
Yeah.
So these would make incredible gifts.
Yeah, thank you.
Right? And I mean, as an aside, I'm happy to promote your your work.
Oh, thank you.
On our various different entities.
Yep.
So the one thing that I hear that is unclear for you yet is the where to live, like what place to live in.
Yeah, that's
kind of the key piece. It sounds like all these other things are really starting to form.
Yep.
But the key thing is, okay, where are you going to live that allows you to be able to do this?
Yes.
So, as far as, would this place work for you if your friend said, yes, you can have it
throughout the winter?
Winter?
It'd still be
perfect. So,
perfect.
Is there a conversation, or is he trying to decide whether he wants to come up to ski, or I
already know he's going to come up to ski. It's
and
just
that wouldn't be a problem
for you? No, it wouldn't be a problem for me.
Okay.
There would be, working around like this type of situation, doing podcasts and things, that would be a little bit more tricky because we can't just knock the table stuff off. And
when he's here,
it's his house, and I like to respect that. I kind of like to be the person that's, there but out of the way kind of a situation until I kind of get myself established and either build, rent, or own my own situation or property. So
what determines, is he just waiting to decide what he wants to do with the house, or do you have to say to him, hey, I'd love to do this year round?
I think it has to do with him being up here a lot more often during the winter. Like, this is kind of like...
Okay, so does that mean he says you could stay as long as he could come whenever he wanted, type of thing?
Meaning, is this a hypothetical? We haven't really talked about it. We kind of played around with the idea of, like, I could be up here a little less, I guess, but still kind of like...
Oh. So he wouldn't want you to be here when he was here?
Not full time, I don't think.
Okay.
Excuse me one second. I'm going to get a Kleenex.
Yeah,
I've been trying to put that off the whole episode. I can't do it.
No worries.
Sorry.
No, you can totally edit that out anyway.
Yep. Yeah, hold that thought.
Sure. Okay, cool. So the thing that's in the way of knowing whether this place is
like
is
Waitsfield,
available,
Vermont. Yep.
but even this house.
Oh, this house. Yep. It's just more of a concrete discussion with my friend.
Yep.
I already get the sense that he wants to have like all the rooms available for family. I think it's more like a holiday kind of like. This is the time when his zip line park is not open during the winter.
Oh, I see.
He has much more time to be a little bit more mobile. He can kind of orchestrate his staff from, wherever, because they're not at the park. They're just doing administrative stuff wherever they are. So I think he enjoys having, this is why he bought it, this place to go and kind of hang out. And basically what I don't want to be in his hair kind of a thing.
Okay.
And I would like to respect his space and time. When he has his own time to be able to utilize his place. So
okay, so then how does that feel to you about maybe going back to Rhode Island for these chunks of time, or would you
I'm
prefer...
certainly, because the machine and my bowl turning equipment is there right now, and that's the other. Do I make the effort to move all that stuff up here, or do I stay flexible with where I need to be, when, and how?
Well, so then the question that occurs to me is, would there be a better place that you could rent up here that you wouldn't have to leave, so therefore you could bring all your stuff up?
Yes.
And then you're not having to drive back and forth. Would that be a preferred option?
Yes and no. Definitely the overhead would be a lot higher. Because
okay, so he gives you a really good rent.
Rent for the house, not only that, but then you're thinking commercial space too.
So you'd have to rent commercial space to bring your stuff up.
Unless somebody has a garage with a certain like electricity capacity, because it's not like it's like a little toaster oven. It's like a 220 volt machine.
And does he have that here? A space that you could do?
Not really. No, it could happen in the garage, but it makes such a mess and dust and stuff that I don't want to get his stuff covered in.
So this spot is not then ideal for you to be able to produce your
Not production.
goals.
No. It would,
So in addition to this, you would need some kind of commercial space.
yes. Yeah.
And does he give you a good break on the rent, or is it a sort of
Rent
market,
here?
market?
Oh yeah. No, it's kind of like front rate kind of a thing.
Oh, cool. So
Yep.
that would allow you the opportunity to rent a commercial space for some number of hours per week.
Yep. Or just a flat rate per month or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And have you looked into that?
Oh yeah, that was
And
that was
finding
that was the
anything?
first step on Front Page Forum.
Oh.
So the reason why I have stuff here is because I haven't found a place to bring my equipment
Gotcha.
up. So I'm testing the market with the product anyways,
Yep.
as a means of kind of like seeing what's going to happen kind of
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
So you haven't found any space up here yet, and you've
No.
looked for a while.
Yeah, word of mouth, friends,
Oh,
Front
boy.
Page Forum. And,
Okay.
yeah.
So does
Front
it?
Porch Forum.
Right. So does it feel like that is a tough?
I'm feeling a little resistance. There's a lot of like people have reached out to me like welcome to the Valley and like this is great artist
Right.
community and
Right.
this
And
I have
yet-
no problem with like the people welcoming me.
Yes.
It's just space is at a premium right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
Huh. And so have you looked outside of the valley to any of the other nearby communities?
not so much. I looked a little bit in Grainville, Rochester, kind of
Yeah.
a little bit, but that's kind of like that's a good 30-40 minute drive.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the economics and
Right,
the
and
carbon
gas and
footprint of all
whatnot.
this stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm just constantly thinking about that.
So would it make any sense to look for a rental that has the ability to allow you to do the work there? Like, is there maybe a rental somewhere in this area or somewhere in Vermont that you can both live and work? What's your thought about that? Is that possible that you might find a place, let's say, that you could rent that has a garage that you could use?
That would be ideal. I just haven't found it yet.
Okay, and
Yeah.
you've looked for that as well.
Not
Not yet.
directly, because the rent here is so good for my situation that
Right.
it doesn't make sense for me
To rent something
go
that's more
somewhere else.
market rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I was thinking that it might make sense is if you can use that same place to do your work,
Yeah.
and then you're saving on the commercial space rental.
Yeah, in my thinking, my ideal situation would have been like somebody that had some extra space in a garage or a big barn that I could have like partitioned off like a small, really small area to just do this work and then either pay them or exchange or whatever they wanted as a means of
I have a
paying
thought.
off. Yeah.
I wonder if Dave's father, Paul, who has a very large garage, might have the ability to do that, because I think it's even a heated garage.
Oh, really? It could be an option.
Yeah, and if you walled off a certain area, that might be possible.
Yeah.
So I can ask about that.
Yeah.
How much of a space would you need?
Not big. To just have enough to be able to do what I need to do. Probably the size, like if that was a wall where that stair thing is, I don't know, from this wall to that wall, which is about 15-20 feet and 15 feet wide or 12 feet wide. Doesn't need to
so
be
like
big.
15 by 15?
The smallest it could be actually is like 10 by 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
10 by 15.
There wouldn't be a lot
like
of
the
extra
minimum.
wiggle room, but
Okay.
the lathe would certainly fit in there. And
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I can pursue that for you.
okay, thank you.
And I would bet that there are other people that may have not even seen your post.
Yeah, on Front Page.
That
Front
through
Porch.
our network of people, we might be able to find
Cool.
somebody.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's assume that you can work out of somebody's garage, ideally a heated one, right? And then if you said to your friend, hey, I'd like to live here year round and I'll get out of your hair when you have, family or whatever, and do you think that would work for him?
That I can't say.
Okay.
I would say no, just because
Oh.
the amount of people that come here.
Oh,
like
okay.
if you will go downstairs, he has like this room that I call like the infantry room, where it's just like three
beds or
different
something?
bunk beds. Yeah.
Okay.
And he fits like 10 people in there at once.
Oh my gosh.
And then he has like the main bedroom that I slept in, and then the whole mold issue thing.
Oh yeah.
So that's throwing a little bit of a wrench into the situation. So
But if you went to Rhode Island during those times, that wouldn't work for him?
If I went to...
Although that wouldn't work for you, because if you're down in Rhode Island, you can't produce your bowls if your stuff is up here.
Yeah. So you're getting into this is the tricky part about me pursuing goals, is that I pursue them to a certain point, and then if I don't see that they work, I'm very mendable. It's like water trying to find the path of least resistance.
Sure. Well, that makes sense, because then you're being guided by sort of what presents itself, and then...
Yeah, and then my inner... The goal really is just to experience life in great depth. How that is, I'm open to it, you know what I mean? So totally shifting to another possibility, is there any desirability to go back to Rhode Island and do this all from there? I could, yeah.
Would you enjoy that?
As far as practicality is concerned, that makes a lot of sense. It's just I don't have my own... I have like a micro house there that I lived in the last 2, maybe 3 winters, and it's
worked.
Definitely inhabitable. It's just there's not a kitchen, there's no bathroom. I'm relying on my parents and my grandmother to like have that kind of infrastructure, and sometimes I feel like I'm too close. And like when I'm up here, I have the independence, and the mind is kind of just like being independent, and then. When I'm there, it's like I have the convenience, but it's also like...
You go back into kind of kid mode a little bit?
Kid mode / not feeling like it's the right place.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like you have that as a backup, but it's really not what you're looking for. You would prefer a more independent, away from home location.
Yep, which includes, being responsible for what I'm doing as far as like my work, and then having the income at some point... Not needing like the good rate of rent here should be like it should just expand in a certain way when it's time.
Right.
Meaning like I could just go out and get a more marketable place to rent with the things that I need and have the income to support it and kind of thing.
So
I've been living on kind of like a minimalist situation the last 3 years, kind of like experimenting with what I want to be doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you found another place to live where you didn't have to leave and it was all yours to rent. Let's say it didn't have the garage, but so you were paying more of a market rent. Is that something you could do on the flatbread salary or no?
Probably. If depends on how much effort and time I want to put into the video work. I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
Because activities that kind of drain your energy instead of add your energy?
Yes.
My destiny or my fate is not in working at a restaurant.
Totally get that.
So it's kind of like at an equilibrium.
I totally get that.
So I need to go with what gives me energy and what kind of like expands it.
Yes.
So I don't want to spend more time there than I need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is quite a dilemma.
It's not. I was excited to do this because I'm not somebody that has a specific goal in mind. And this is hard.
Well, you kind of do.
Yeah.
Because I'm hearing the goal is to be independent.
Yep.
To
financially
be self-employed.
Yep. Yep.
To be able to share your self through
expressive. Yep.
Through the bowls, and then whatever else manifests from that, but to be a YouTube personality, right? And so now that looks like the goal to me. Does that sound right?
Yes, okay. That's definitely what my thoughts are.
So then the pieces to make that happen are what I think
in flux
is making it a little more challenging.
Yeah.
Right? So you have the backup of being able to live in Rhode Island, but that's really not ideal.
Yeah.
You have this place, but it's really only until when?
November. Mid-November, yeah.
Okay. So what that does do, though, is it gives you some time, since we're only this beginning of September.
Yep.
Gives you a couple months, at least, maybe 3, because Thanksgiving is probably when he'll want to use the house?
Mid-November, just because that's when snowfall starts.
Okay, so like
roughly.
Mid-November.
Yeah.
So you've got, a little more than 2 months. So that gives you the time to really see what kind of sales you can generate for your wood products. while still working the same number of hours at the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And then doing any videography, photography stuff that comes up, which you're saying kind of drops off after November, mid-November anyway, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, it sounds like if you could find a place up here
Mm-hmm.
to do your work, and maybe it's a trade
Mm-hmm.
or a very low rent,
Yeah.
then the biggest thing would be finding that year-round living
Situation.
space.
Yeah.
Does that feel like it's the most
It would.
important piece
Yeah, it
to
would-
making this happen?
Yeah. Either it could be anywhere in the world really, but I feel like this is a nice base.
Yeah.
So that would, satisfy the independence, doing things on my own type of thing, which I kind of have been anyways. But sometimes in the midst of these adventures, I go back home and whatever. It's
That's
like,
fine.
yeah. So it's like that's still like the home base. I want to create my own home base. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Okay. So
Yeah.
it sounds like then, while you're getting a sense of the interest in
Mm-hmm.
the sales of these
Mhm.
products,
Mhm.
the first task is to find a place to live after mid-November up here.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So what would be your method of doing that at this point?
The front porch,
forum.
Craigslist,
Yep.
word of mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's good that you have a couple months
Mhm.
to do that. So it seems like that would be the first logical step to making this all happen.
Mhm.
Would you agree?
Logically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you feel like you can do in the next week towards that goal?
Put those ads out.
Okay.
Look on Craigslist to see existing offerings in the market.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
sweet.
Yep.
So what is today, Friday? So by next Friday,
Mhm.
we can check in and we'll see where you're at as far as what opportunities might have come up.
Sure.
Maybe there's other ideas that have come to you or even me
Mhm.
about other places to look. I remember looking at like property caretaking possibilities
Yeah.
way back when.
Yep.
So that might be something to consider too if none of these other avenues
No, for sure.
generate the right thing.
No.
And
Yep.
so if you were to find this other thing, do you have a sense of what you would like to pay for rent? Like, do you know what rents are?
You know what?
here?
I don't. I know they range from, like a bedroom. You're sharing a bedroom. I mean, you're sharing a room within a house. I'm
Right.
saying. No, you have your own room in a house.
Right.
So you don't have the whole house like I have
Right.
in this situation.
Right.
So, I don't know, several hundred, and I've seen some rentals here go for a couple thousand at least.
Right.
If you're having
It's
the
a
whole
big
house.
house.
Yeah.
So would you be able to do your video stuff in a setting like if you had your own room within a house?
Possibly. Yep.
Ooh, and
Mm-hmm.
there's the idea to, well, I was going to say second homeowners' houses, but they probably would be coming up for skiing, so you'd probably have
That's
that
this
same,
situation.
right?
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
exactly
Yep.
this.
Yep. Yep.
So that would not be the ideal.
Yeah.
So I think looking for that year-round rental that allows you to be able to have the quiet that you need to do your videos
Mhm.
when you want to do them.
Mm-hmm.
That you have a space up here to do your production of your products,
Yep.
and then see what unfolds.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
For sure.
So I guess you've got your homework for the next week.
Yeah, homework's to look at rentals, maybe even make an ad,
Yeah.
and then we can check up. We can check up with each other on text because
Sure.
I will be.
Oh, that's what you're going to be in.
Yeah, I'll be around. I won't be around until the week thereafter.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to wait till Friday. If something comes up and you
Yeah.
want to share it with me, let
Yeah.
me know ahead of
Yeah,
time.
then we can discuss the second part of this adventure
Yeah.
next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Thank
Sound
you.
good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Awesome.
Awesome. So yeah, so that's
Coaching.
Yeah, it's coaching. It's for those of you who are a little bit more specific in your goals and you definitely know what you want to do. I think your method definitely would help as far as flushing out what the next steps are. I kind of play a different game of kind of going, meaning like wood turning and working at a restaurant and even photography isn't the end game for me. I don't
Right.
see it as an end game
Right.
for
Those
me.
are the steps to getting where you
Yeah.
want to go.
So it's basically hard to pinpoint exactly what I need to do because I'm constantly shuffling around many variables and just kind of going by feeling. But if you definitely have a plan or trying to get a plan established, I think what you're doing is definitely very, very helpful because it creates a situation where you're thinking of options.
But even with your situation, did it not feel like it
helped me flesh out like what I really want to do?
Yeah.
Meaning the independence. I feel like I have no excuse not to do what I need to do as far as like the video work, and I also have come to the realization that I have to create this situation.
Right.
I can't just imagine this and then I'll be like, oh, it already exists, kind of a thing.
Well, I might push back a little bit on that. I think the imagining of it is the first step.
Oh yeah.
Right?
But I can't just not take action.
Oh, agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the imagining and then the taking conscious action.
Yes, exactly.
Right? That's the key. But it's what my sense is that regardless of whether you were clear about all the pieces, it really didn't matter because coaching is really about helping you get that clarity to, okay, this is the ultimate goal. How do I get there? So these stepping stones of the wood turning and the working at the restaurant and getting a new place to live and renting a place, those are all stepping stones towards the ultimate goal, right? So that's going to be the case for many people.
Exactly.
I think.
Yes.
Not everybody has a clear sense. Or sometimes I've had clients who said, oh, I really want to lose weight. So we start talking about that and then we uncover the fact that it's actually a relationship issue.
Yes.
So I feel like that's very common with coaching. It's like you think is one thing, but then, ooh, wow, look at that. Interesting. Let's follow that trail.
Yeah, and I think that over the last few episodes that we've kind of established, and I'm kind of happy that this mock coaching session kind of flushed that out, is the life that I see myself living is a life of clarity.
Yeah.
Seeing what is versus what isn't, and it just takes kind of doing things to figure that out.
Absolutely.
So it's like,
well, and there's another interesting thing. So I told you before we started this that I had a friend that I hadn't seen in like 24, 25 years come visit, and that she's a dream work therapist. And what was really fascinating as I was talking with her these past few days was, even as a dream therapist, knowing so much about dreams, her dreams are another tool of self-awareness for herself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? And so she's had some incredible dreams where she, just for one example, she was signed up to do a master's program in California at a school. And at first she was going to pursue, I forget which topic. But then in a dream, she's also a musician, so that's kind of critical. So in a dream, she kept having this thing about playing the piano and how she needed to play the piano again, and that was a big message through the dream that she wasn't really supposed to just do this one track that she had signed up for. So she looked to see if there were other options for her master's. Come to find out there was something that she could use the music, and it also had to do with consciousness. So she then signed up for that and got that master's.
Yes.
Now, had she not paid attention to the dream, she might have pursued that first track and been dissatisfied, or, it would have lost its luster after a short time.
Yes.
But in fact, she met amazing people through this other master's program. And it was all because she listened to that dream. And so I think it'd be fun to interview her sometime.
No, it would be, yeah.
On our On the Path podcast. But yeah, so I think that's just another tool of self-awareness that, we all have access to.
Yeah. Like everything, I find everything that I do in some way or some form now is a method for that practice, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much.
Cool. My pleasure.
Cool. So another episode is going to be a little bit shorter than last week's Mammoth Marathon. Yep. So we're going to end at this today. I have a homework assignment. We'll see how that goes.
Yep.
We're going to check in next time. We have time to be able to sit down and do one of these. So thanks again for stopping by.
Yeah,
this is On the Path with Amy
and Pete.
Yep. Have a great day.
Take care.